Everyone has stuff around the house they're not using. Why don't you sell it? Like a video game, guitar, or a camera. Buy and sell your stuff for dollars and Bitcoin at Binks.com. That's BINKX.com.
All right, everybody. Every time I see that commercial, I laugh because we really have commercials here. And so super excited, super excited about that. So go to Binks.com and use your unwanted items to trade in or sell for Bitcoin, right? That's incredible. So with that, I'd like to welcome you all to On the Block. This is a series that we've been doing for a couple of years now, and we've had some great guests on, and we've had some good guests, but today we have a great guest. This young lady has been with Crypto Blockchain Plug since the beginning of time. I am super excited about her and what she brings to the space, her knowledge. I remember, and she probably doesn't remember, the first time we met, she was running across the floor at Blockchain Summit being held here in LA. I think we were at the convention center. And she was running across me talking about quantum computers. I better get to the stage to hear what she had to say. So I was like, quantum computers? And so I was like, she is really the smart one, because I didn't know nothing about a quantum computer until she came across my path. So that said, I sat in her session and I realized how much she brings to not only the community, but to the cryptocurrency, the blockchain space. And so I would like to introduce to some and present to others, Miss Barbara Bickham. Welcome to On the Block. How are you?
Thank you, Najah. I am good. Thank you so much.
Good. That is good. That is good. So we usually get started just allowing you to kind of tell about yourself, how you were raised. And one of the things we didn't want to know is really how you got into blockchain. So we'll let you do all of that first, and then we'll get into
I'll do my 5-minute story, maybe in 7 minutes, I think.
Okay. That'll work. We got about
5 minutes and 7 minutes.
Okay.
So I am born and bred in Los Angeles. I'm native LA. I went to Berkeley and I came back. But before then, the way I got into computers, I was in high school and I had a project to do a flow chart, actually. And it was a flow chart for the area of a rectangle. And I did that in about 2 or 3 days, and that was boring. And so I said, well, what else can I find the area of, right? There's area of a rectangle. I said, well, I can do a square because it's length times width, right? So it's length. And then I said, well, I could do a triangle and I could do a circle. So literally, the homework was due like 2 weeks after, and I had done it in like 2 days. And so I was like, well, let me finish this up. So I did all the different areas, and it made this massive flow chart. It was like multiple pages when there was a dot matrix printer back in the day. And then I ended up getting an A because my program, actually you had to write a program also, not only to generate the flow chart, but I wrote a program to like enter in, like, did you want to do the area of a square, a circle, or a triangle? And so like I did the different programming as well. So I got an A on that. That's kind of how I got into computers. Then I went to Berkeley and I came back. I had a very traditional career for the first 15 years of my career. I was an architect and designed things from scratch. I wrote a lot of code, wrote a lot of kernel level code, wrote the thing that became the Sportster modem, wrote a lot of very famous products back in the day. And then after that, I got an opportunity to start a company. Trailyn was my second company. TechJanai was my first company. And so we did a lot in the wireless space. I'm one of the wireless pioneers in the United States. So when you text help 12345, when you the way we scan those QR codes, I started that as well. We also divided all the digital rights. So the fact that you have rights on a phone for music versus TV versus content, I worked on a lot of that work. So that's kind of what I did in that space for many years. in 2012, I heard about the blockchain. In 2013, I had some friends in the space, so I do know a lot of the Bitcoin blockchain pioneers. A lot of them were here in LA. Didn't get in then. Tried to get in 2015 after I heard Andreas Antonopoulos talk about the Internet of Money. I said, "Oh, that's what it is. Okay, digitized money, computerized money." I said, "Okay, I could do that, right?" Tried to get in as a developer, went off and did my AIs, came back, and then 2017 I got in full on. So I've kind of been in here ever since.
Okay.
That's kind of my blockchain journey.
Okay, part of your blockchain journey. Well,
Yeah.
you had the background for coding and all of those
Yeah.
things. So when you transitioned into the blockchain, was there a different computer language that you needed to learn?
Well,
Was there
yes,
a
you have.
difference from what you used to study in retrospect to the blockchain and the new maybe code like Solidity or something like that? Like, I'm not the coder, so I'm just asking about the actual language.
That's a good question. So I do know Solidity. It's not that big of a transition from what I came up as. So I came up writing C, C++, Pascal. A lot of what Bitcoin is written in C, C language, C level.
Okay.
And so because of that background, I was fortunate enough to just be able to transition. I could learn coding languages like some people learn foreign languages, right? It's just
Yeah.
a part of what I understand and it can learn really fast. But the other half of it is blockchain is encrypted. So there's a lot of these different encryption methods and a lot of these different graph methods and a lot of different ways to put the blocks on the chain related to the consensus mechanisms, the proof of work mechanisms that relate to encryption. And because I had that background from the computer security company I worked at, I understood that very well. I mean, when I saw the blocks and how the blocks were put on the blockchain from the block explorers from either Bitcoin or Ethereum or one of those, chain, whatever chain you look at, it's a ledger. So I mean, the concepts of it weren't that difficult considering the background I had. But is it difficult to learn? No, I think the encryption pieces are the most difficult to learn if you want to have a learning around it. Solidity in and of itself is not that difficult to learn, but you have to think about the security of it, right?
Okay.
Because
All
there's
right.
that piece that where you hear these like, okay, somebody came into this smart contract and took all this money out. Well, clearly you didn't secure it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a question to ask you as a blockchain professional or as a coder for that matter. I just got an epiphany, and I want to say, sadly, it was just an epiphany last month that my not knowing how to do basic coding has really hampered my growth in one of the apps that I'm having developed. And I have, again, just got an epiphany that this is a language such as Spanish, French, German, just like you stated. And I've been really starting to make a plea, not only with myself, because I got to sit down and learn the basics, but to our community, that if they don't learn this new language to speak to computers, that we're going to be in some severe trouble in the next 5 to 10 years. What do you think about that?
Well, I have a different opinion.
Okay.
So you said a lot in those sentences, so I'll unpack them in a couple of ways.
Okay.
The first half of what you said is that I feel like my growth is stunted because I don't understand coding. And if you want to understand coding, you can learn to code like you can learn any other language, Spanish or English. Coding has rules and coding has, just like grammar, right? So in English, we have grammar, and then there's certain things you can do with sentences and not do with sentences, like where does the period go? Where does the comma go? This is the same thing in coding. It has a grammar and a language, and it's kind of widely understood. So Solidity has a grammar and a language. There's certain things you can do with it. There's certain things you can't do with it. And they have these compilers which interpret grammars, or they could compile grammars depending upon which languages you use. And it can kind of tell you like, this is correct and this is not correct. And then you kind of can correct it, or you could kind of look at other people's stuff and say, this kind of looks right or doesn't look right, right? So that's the first half. The second half is, I've actually seen this now twice. There are these people creating software that writes itself. And it wasn't that far off like 5 years ago, because they had these things called static code checkers. And what that does is if you're doing like real serious development, what you do is your code goes through a check prior to make sure that it's coded right and it's good coding, right? So machines have been checking that for years. And I looked at this and I said, well, it's not that far from static code checking to generating code, because it already knows your code, what parts of the code is bad. It tells you like what things need to be corrected. Like, so now why do I as a human being now have to go in and correct that? Like, I don't know. So I have seen a couple of companies now that can just generate code, but it's more at the basic app level, right? So it may generate some C, C++ or something like that. It's not going to generate a Solidity contract at this point yet. I'm not saying it can't ever. Right. So maybe it's what you're learning, right? So maybe you should be learning Solidity and some of these other like heavy C, C++, maybe Go, these things where all these protocols are being written, or however DAOs are being created, or how these things are interacting. Learn that set of code, because it'll be a while before the code checkers are there versus like right now, because I've seen two. So two are doing it, like more thinking about doing it. And then, and then Amazon does it. And then, then the big companies do it. Right.
Yes. So that's really great information. And so I know that you feel that all of our children need to be learning coding, correct?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes, and very passionate
the right type of coding, though.
The right type of coding. Yes. And I do have to say right now that Barbara Bickham is one of our fabulous board members, as well as an instructor at Crypto Kids Camp. So we thank her for the time that she spent teaching our children blockchain. The activities that she does with them is incredible, and we just thank her for that. So let's kind of fast forward to, well, let me just ask you. So you got into blockchain. Did you get blockchain certified, or how did that work?
I did not. It was just the culmination of all the different things that I did, and just my basic understanding after I read that Satoshi white paper of what a blockchain was. And then I also had, because the blockchain community is open, a lot of it's open. So my friend Miko calls it open source money, right? So if you go online, you can go and look in the Bitcoin code base. You can go look in the Ethereum code base. You can go look into these code bases. So I did look into the Bitcoin code base once, like not a lot, but I did look into it because I was going to contribute, because they said, hey, a way you can, become a developer in the blockchain space is to contribute to these open source projects. And so I still would suggest that to anybody that's interested in doing it. Go and look at some of these open source projects and see if you can't make a contribution or several contributions, and see if you can't start learning more about the inward workings of some of these coins, these DAOs, these things that are coming.
So blockchain has been your expertise, again, as long as I've known you. Like I said, you were taking the stage as a Bitcoin expert, and that I really feel that you are. Where has blockchain taken you in speaking engagements? And I say this because when I first met you, every week prior to COVID, you were flying the world skies. So where has blockchain taken you? Where are some interesting places?
So let's see. I got called by the government of South Korea, to come and speak on blockchain, and then also be a pitch judge to females in that community as well. So that was an honor. I went to the Ukraine to speak. I mean, I was in Santa Barbara to speak. Those are kind of two interesting things. I was in Monaco and Malta, but I was just visiting there.
That's where it was. I was going to say Bermuda, but it was Malta.
I went to Malta, and that's a long flight from LA.
Yes, it is long.
No, very beautiful. And I went to Monaco as well, which is kind of like Beverly Hills on Island as well.
Really, that's incredible. Because
I was going kind of all over the place, and even before the pandemic, I got to go to Hong Kong, which was actually very beautiful and very lovely place to go. So
yes,
I like that as well.
Yeah, and I used to say, man, Barbara is jet setting, and blockchain is taking her everywhere. And it was
that summer. I think I was gone from May until I think it was like November. I was gone like 6 months.
Yes,
but then I've been doing a lot of this, Najah, on these boxes, right? Speaking a lot on these virtualized windows, which is great because then you can reach other people, right? Because when you go to a location, you can only talk to the people that are there. And so the power of having this online and kind of virtualized community is that you can talk to, many people all over the world. And that's kind of cool.
Yes, very, very cool. So let's get into Trailyn Ventures.
Yes.
Let's talk about this fabulous company that you are a founder of, correct?
Yes. Trailyn is
all right. Can you tell us what Trailyn does and how, just tell us what you do first of all.
So Trailyn Ventures is a place where I help investors and entrepreneurs understand emerging tech. So I work with companies on there. It could be any combination of blockchain and AI, IoT, XR, which is AR, VR, or metaverse. That's what's going to become called now, and quantum computing. So I look at all 5 of those technologies in that company, and I help people implement them, execute on them, create them, think about them. How do you utilize it at a practical level, right? So, I mean, we have we have NFTs. Let's talk about that. Because that's the latest thing in the blockchain space, which has been around for a while. So the first project I looked at for NFTs there were 2 of them, and one was in 2018. We were doing universal rewards on the blockchain, but we were having 2 levels of token. One was going to be a normalized token. The second one was going to be an NFT that held the points for all the universal points. So like if you did an airline flight or did Starbucks or did Subway or did whatever, that would all go on to your NFT, right? So that's one way we were using NFTs. The second way we were thinking about using NFTs was carbon credits and like validating that you had these credits associated with your company. So that was another way we were thinking about using NFTs early, because you don't need to mint, thousands of coins to say I'm carbon neutral, right? We could mint one for you, Najah, because crypto blockchain plug is very eco-friendly. So we could mint one for you and give you some metadata. We could mint one for me. So now we have 2. You don't necessarily need to mint, hundreds of millions of coins like you normally would. So that's one of the beauties of NFTs. So Trailyn works at that level: architecture and design, token economics. We do dual token economics, right? Because the reason why we had the 2 tokens at the rewards place was for inflationary pressures. So if some coins went up, like how are we going to handle that from a points perspective? How are we going to do conversions? There was a lot of token economics there. And then the other thing Trailyn does is I had one person, but it worked. I've had one investor come through it's called the Emerging Tech Lab. It's for investors. It's to train them on blockchain, AI, AR, IoT, and quantum computing. It's 7 weeks for that. It's 6 weeks for the other half of it, which is how do you become an investor? Like, what do you need to do? How do you create a portfolio? How do you spot these companies? How do you do diligence? So that's kind of the other half of what Trailyn is. So that's all online now.
That is awesome. Really, we get a lot of calls and we get a lot of people walking in that want to know about VCs and if they can, if I know anybody that's an accredited investor. Matter of fact, today I got a call from somebody said, how many VCs do you know are accredited investors? And so how would one get in? What's the process of coming before you to pitch idea or something that somebody has?
They can go on the website. They can go to Trailyn VC on here, TRAILYN VC.com, and then they can go to /contact. And on my form, it asks, are you an investor or are you a company? And if you're a company, you click that. If you're an investor, you go a slightly different path. But I'll talk to anybody, but you have to go through the little form process.
Okay.
And then you make an appointment. It's really simple. I'm not hiding.
Okay, well that's good. Well, not that's good. I know you're not hiding.
Well, I mean, I'm accessible to people, right? I'm not like way out there, but I'm not like totally like, oh, I don't want to talk to anyone either, right? I'm accessible and open to
right.
talking to anybody, right?
So a lot of folks now that we're not even out of COVID, but a lot of folks now are pulling out their entrepreneurship hats and they're looking for VC money. Tell me one of the pet peeves that you see when someone is presenting to you so that we don't make those same mistakes if we come your direction. What is one of your pet peeves?
I think it's not really a pet peeve. I wouldn't put it that way, but this is an area of improvement even for myself. So I'm going to put this for everyone. When you're presenting, you have to be open to feedback, right? And sometimes it's hard to accept feedback because when you make the appointment with me, I go through your pitch deck and then I'm like, oh, I love this, or oh, let me give you some feedback, right? And then, the other half of it is you're creating a relationship. So there's two things: be open to the feedback and you're creating a relationship. So it's not Shark Tank. You're not necessarily going to get a check right then, right? It's not like, yes, you win, right? It's not that. You're creating a relationship. So if you think about it that way, life will be a lot easier.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Just like we did, right? It didn't happen overnight, right? We have a relationship. We created a relationship.
Right. Definitely. And you got to create a relationship. So, what's as a VC, I know you see tons of businesses come through. What amount of pages should your pitch deck be?
So there's still this standard 10 pages, and it's 10 pages. It shouldn't be more than 10 pages. If you can make it less than 10 pages, that would be great. It kind of depends on, that's kind of a long deck. It depends on how long you have to present, right? So normally you're going to have your 10-page long deck, which could be for 5 minutes. And then they have 3-minute pitch variants now. So you got to shorten the 10 pages probably to 6. From 10 to 6, 3-minute pitch.
And that's a 3-minute pitch.
So in the 3-minute pitch, you're going to do 6 pages, right?
Wow.
And then if you do a 1-minute pitch, you do no pages. You have to have just the thing and you literally do a pitch. You can do you should be able to do your whole pitch on the one slide, right? That's it.
Wow.
Because you're not going to have time. Like in 1 minute, what are you going to have time to say, really? Right? There's a lot you can say, right?
You got to have an elevator pitch together for 1 minute.
Yes.
I thought when you go before a VC, because of the kind of money that I'm hearing that is being awarded or handed out, like they at least need 20 minutes. And here it is, you're talking about 5 and 3 and a 1 minute.
On a pitch, well, on an initial conversation, really, you said something earlier, like you see a lot of companies because of the volume of the companies you see, right? I mean, really, if you're going to be able to determine fairly quickly. That's kind of a lot of my VC friends, I never understood this. I have a lot of VC friends. I never understood this. I watched them. I said, how do you figure that out so quick? But I know now why. because you see so many, right? And then you start getting a sense of what's important to you and not important to you. Like, what do you
Right.
see and not see in a founder,
Right.
right? So, I mean, it ends up becoming practice from a VC side because you start seeing so many companies,
Yes.
right?
And so one of the things that and I don't want to say that I know firsthand because I haven't gone after any VC money. I haven't done any pitches of the sort for Crypto Blockchain Plug, but I have heard in the industry, and I've been on stage with people that say how very hard it is for people of color to get VC dollars. What do you have to say about that? And what is Trailyn Ventures doing to ensure that we are getting our fair share of the actual VC dollars that are available and out there today?
So Trailyn VC is raising a fund, which is great. We're doing pre-seed diverse deep tech founders, so that's a part of it. And I have some statistics that were shocking to people. So here were the statistics. Most diverse founders have a 3.3x exit versus a 2.5x exit. What does that mean in dollar returns? That means for every $100 million, diverse teams will return $330 million. Non-diverse teams will do $250 million, $70 million differential. Which would
Wow.
you rather have? Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if you have one woman on your team, you're going to exit faster than if you don't. So the time to exit means you don't have to hold your shares longer, right? Because companies are going public, they're taking longer and longer. And so now you don't have to hold your shares as long. That's number two statistic. Number three statistic, 19% of companies are more innovative and actually make more revenues if you have a diverse team. So it's 46% versus 25%, 19% more. And then the kicker is that it's $4 trillion of lost value, unrealized value, if you're not investing in diverse teams.
Well, why don't other VCs have this information?
They do now.
They do now.
I've been saying those numbers
I know
because
that
the
is
numbers,
incredible.
and these are numbers from Franklin Templeton. So the women's statistic was from Franklin Templeton. The 3.3x versus 2.5x with Kauffman Foundation. Morgan Stanley talked about the $4 trillion of value unfound, and BCG had that 19% revenue. So these are out there, right?
Wow.
But they just have to know. Just like you're saying, hey, I feel like I have a gap in my knowledge because I don't understand solidity as well, right? I mean, it's just a gap in their knowledge. That's it.
You know what? I almost feel like saying I want to do a nice pitch and put those statistics in the front of it and say, and that's why you need to pick my company because you won't have to hold your shares as long. So we do have a company that we're going to be doing an IPO on in 2022. I'm super excited about it. Just really listening for asking you questions for the listeners, but for myself as well, because I plan on pitching to some companies very, very.
Are you going to do a SPAC or are you doing a straight IPO? Or are you doing it tokenized outside of the United States?
I am going to just do a straight IPO.
Okay.
I don't, there's some other things that I probably needed to have called you about.
That's cool. We can call offline, right?
Yeah, we'll call offline just to make sure I'm in the right place. But
yes.
We've just got so many. Like I said, today somebody called me and was like, "My goodness, I have this idea." And actually, I know 3 people that are looking for some VCs to really pick up some stuff that they're doing in the tech space, and it looks like really viable products. And so I'm excited about that, especially for our community, because I think COVID has done something.
I think it's important. If you think about not only COVID, but like how wealth is being generated and then recycling it back, right? Because those people can now invest in other people, right? So you get your wealth, you invest in other people. then they get their wealth, they invest in other people. They get their wealth, they get invest in other people. Then you get this little wheel, right? Because that's
Right.
what you want.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And that's why it's important to teach our kids. Back to Crypto Kids Camp, we're going to do another plug for that. That's why it's important to train our kids on these things so that they understand, like, this is really the next set of wealth creation happening.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So let's do this because I am not sure. I know we usually have a couple of different platforms that people are on asking questions.
Oh,
So
they
I'm gonna
have
ask.
questions. Are they in the comments? No, I didn't know.
I'm gonna ask the young ladies to help us decipher because people are all on different platforms and different things and just probably listening. Um,
Very good.
I want to make sure how can people get, first of all, how can people follow you as the Bitcoin, not as the Bitcoin, as the blockchain guru? Where can they find you the most?
You can follow me. Where do you find me the most?
The
I
most.
think Twitter, I'm on there quite a bit more, and LinkedIn. Those are kind of the two that I'm on the most.
And would they find you under Barbara Bickham?
They would find me under Trailyn Ven, TrailynVen on Twitter, and Barbara Bickham on LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. And we'll have the young ladies put that in the chat. And ladies, if we don't have any questions, we're going to ask Barbara her closing question because we want to be in respect of her time. And so let's see what we have.
Here is one. Is there anything in place to train seniors such as you do the children? So the way I train the blockchain is very it's low tech, because this year when we went to train the kids, the internet wasn't working. And I walk in and Najah's like, the internet's not working. Can you make is your thing gonna work? And I'm like, yeah, I'm low tech. So
yes.
So my product can work for 5-year-olds, but it can also work for senior citizens because it's an art project. So they learn the blockchain and the basics of the blockchain. So, like, what is the Genesis block? How do you make the chain? How do you make sure the encrypted block goes on the chain? What is that called? Right? How do you make a node? Then that all becomes a node and it's all colors and everything. So that project can be done by older people as well. And then the kids get excited because then they take it home and then they want to train all their parents on it too.
Right.
That happened the last couple of years.
Yes, the last couple of years. And I would have you all know that the parents are like, oh my goodness, my child came home and would not be quiet about this blockchain and this Genesis block and this zero was the most important and the one and I'm like, yep.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was kind of funny because when you ask the kids, like, what number do you want? They're like, 1. And I'm like, no, wrong answer. Right?
Yes,
they all wanted the number 1, but not on the blockchain.
Yeah, they know, and our children know the most important block because Barbara Bickham taught them. So yes, somebody said, can you give us some examples of how blockchain utility to bypass Visa or MasterCard networks work?
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't tell that, but I mean, they have these other, if you think about payments or wiring, like I want to send Najah some money, right? I mean, you could do it via the Visa network, or you could do it via the Bitcoin or blockchain network, we'll say. So they have cryptocurrencies that can go cross-border. And so it's called cross-border payments, cross-border remittance. So they do have these blockchain networks that can bypass Visa and MasterCard. But they work in conjunction with, like, not in conjunction, because you have to get the money into the cryptocurrency. That's the thing. So you have to get on ramps, right? Way to put the money into the cryptocurrency. Then you can just wire the cryptocurrency, which takes seconds or minutes. Even if it took 30 minutes, that's longer than it takes. And then the fee is less, depending upon how they put the blocks on the network, right? Because
So if I
gas, I heard a rumor Ethereum gas is terrible.
yes, Ethereum gas is
Ethereum gas is terrible.
yes, it is. And so Nero D, I just want to let you know that as she was saying, you got an on-ramp, fiat on-ramp, which means taking the fiat dollar from your country, of course, and getting it into cryptocurrency. And we literally, I don't remember the last time I've been to Western Union or MoneyGram, because if somebody's out of the country, I can just send Bitcoin.
Correct.
It's easier. It's super easy. It's borderless, in my opinion.
100%.
Yes.
100% borderless, 100% frictionless. And it takes 30 minutes, and then the fee is nothing, right? Because if you think about what a Western Union or a MoneyGram may take, let's say they take, for every $100, they'll take 5. Like, that's a lot. But a Bitcoin, how much is that? A quarter, maybe?
It's a little bit more. Well, if you wanted to send that amount, yes.
I mean, at $100, it might, $100, even still, like, you're still getting more money, and it's going to come there faster.
Right. You are absolutely correct. And so, well, thank you for that. Thank you for those questions. Somebody said, thank you, Miss Barbara. How do we get
the course for seniors? Okay, the way you get the course for seniors, I will tell you. I have something called the Labs, LABS.Trailyn, TRAILYN.com. And on that page, it has Trailyn Labs, LABS.TRA. Yeah, they got it right here. And so if you go to that page and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the class called Blockchain with Blocks Art Project. That's what it is. And it has everything in it.
Okay. Good deal. Well, good deal. And again, in respect to your time, I just want to say thank you. And I would like to just hear one last word that you would like to say or share with somebody that may be sitting on an idea and they just don't know how to get started or how to go after VC dollars. What would you tell them? What would you say to them about their idea?
If you have an idea, you just have to do it, right? Just try it and see what happens. And then, as they say here, go to trailynvc.com and then fill out /contact and go fill out the contact form, and we can have a chat on it.
All right. Well,
don't be afraid of your ideas, right?
Yeah.
Look at what you've done, Najah. Now, I'm going to give Najah her 5 seconds of credit. Like Crypto Blockchain Plug, it's become a great thing. Crypto Kids Camps becoming an awesome thing. From all that, from an idea.
Yes, definitely. And it's not going to be easy. And if you can get funding, it's going to be much easier. If you get funding, it'll be much easier. And I really have to admit, I've got to get out on this next venture of mine and really get the funding coming in. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm hoping that you have enjoyed On the Block with Miss Barbara Bickham and that you are going to reach out to her first and foremost to understand, if you don't understand blockchain, and get that blockchain activity from her. But also, if you have a company or you know somebody that has an emerging tech idea or company, to really reach out to her venture company, Trailyn VC. And it's on the screen, so trailynvc.com. And again, Miss Barbara Bickham, thank you 100 times. Thank you. This was an incredible session, and looking forward to seeing you on top, because so many things are happening in our space. It's an exciting time to be alive. I say it all the time.
It is an exciting time to be alive. It really is. It's really an exciting time to be alive.
Yes, it is.
Well, and I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you. And everybody that's listening, again, thank you for joining us for a session of On the Block with Miss Barbara Bickham, one of the blockchain experts of the United States, and we just love her to death. So I will talk to you all soon. Peace and blessings. Thank you for coming out tonight. Hello, my name is Najah Roberts, and I would like to welcome you to the Virtual Underground Railroad. I'm really excited about this platform, and the reason why is because I got into financial services about 12 years ago, myself and my husband, because we really thought that we could be the change that we wanted to see. But the deeper we dove into financial services and the products that were being offered, we really realized that we couldn't help close the wealth gap, which is what both of us aspire to do. So the reason I'm super excited about this platform is because you're going to gain so much information. Listen, let's just keep it real. I pay a lot of money every month on subscriptions, and what I want to do is make sure that that information is at your fingertips so you don't have to pay for it like I have to pay for it, because some of these things I have to know. But one thing is for certain, inside of my platform, the Virtual Underground Railroad, we have a 360-degree program. We pull together some of the top experts in different industries to ensure you have the right information from people you can know, love, and trust. And so we're excited about this platform today. Every single week, I will be coming to you personally. There will be an Ask Me Anything session. You are going to be so glad that you're a part of the Virtual Underground Railroad. And I'd like to say thank you first and foremost for trusting me with your family and your learning experience. Have an incredible time at the Virtual Underground Railroad. See you inside.